welcome back to the Board Hoovian YouTube channel, and we are 3 weeks into season 2, and yeah, that episode just happened. Unfortunately, I've not given it a second watch. I'm actually kind of rushing this video because I actually had the weekend off at work. I was away with my girlfriend in Brighton, had a really lovely time, and I did manage to squeeze the episode in through time, like not all in one go, kind of little 15-minute increments, but I quite enjoyed the episode. I'm just going to say that out right now. I enjoyed the episode, and I think what helped is that I kind of knew I don't know what to say twist, but a key aspect of the episode going in. But yeah, I haven't given it a second watch, so obviously some opinions might differ, and I've seen a lot of people talk about the episode online after it and theorise and all sorts. But I think it's important just to go straight in and say, you know, here's the review for The Well, and there's no place you can really start other than, you know, the big spoilery thing. Again, stop watching this if you haven't seen the episode. This is a massive spoiler, but I'm going to talk about it now. 3, 2, 1. This is a Midnight sequel. Obviously, maybe not direct, but very much, you know, a sequel to Midnight, which may be a massive problem for some people. I know someone where that almost became a bit of a sticking point to them, and they didn't really appreciate that. And they also have issues with kind of how affiliated aspects of this current era are with like the old eras, and I absolutely kind of see those in this era. I absolutely do, but I also don't see the harm in doing sequel stories, but doing sequel stories amongst other things with this era, which kind of play with the old RTD era, kind of make you go, you know, this is supposed to be a reboot, and you're doing a Midnight sequel. It doesn't really feel the same way. But if we just talk about the actual story, what it does with Midnight, like when I first heard that there was potentially a Midnight sequel, my first thought is, I mean, it's not going to be the same environment or the same characters. It's going to be a different environment. And is it going to be just doing the repeating thing again? Because surely if it's doing the repeating thing, the Doctor's going to click it immediately. So it can't be that. So it's going to be doing something different. And if it does something different, how are people going to react? Are people going to be like, you know, that makes sense? And it absolutely makes sense that it's not repeating anymore, because the Doctor kind of realises the whole repeating thing is just it kind of taking in information and adapting. And there's one aspect of the story which I think would have made it so much better, but I understand maybe why they didn't do it, which was the character of Alice, played by Rose Eiling-Ellis. Her character is the only survivor at the well, and she's the last one there, and it's just by the Doctor that it hasn't got to her because she can't hear it, and it's like whispering in her ear, and she can't hear it. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that justification. That's how she survived. That's how she didn't go mad, because it's making people go mad. And the idea that maybe the one consistent part of it, of the creature, is that it kind of it's feeding off paranoia and making people go insane and making people turn on each other. The idea that that is a consistent part of it, I kind of like. At the end of the day, it's been 400,000 years and it's got smarter, so it's gonna do different things. I didn't mind the fact that we see glimpses of it, like, and sure, they show like the whole figure in Unleashed, but I don't think that whole figure is supposed to be what it looks like. It's just supposed to be a guide for the actors. Like, they needed something physical, and they made it not look like a face, just have random markings, so that when light hits it, you'll see glimmers, and it will be fast. What we see in the episode is what we're supposed to see. You're not supposed to pause it and be like, that's what it looks like. I don't think so. What we're supposed to see is the glimmers of the shadow, basically. And that's, I think, in the episode, if you don't pause it, that's kind of what you see. And, you know, I loved when it pans out and you're seeing the Mercury waterfall and you're almost waiting to get a glimpse, and I love the camera shot. You're almost imagining that that thing is perfectly fitting behind Alice, and you don't see it. And it definitely plays with us seeing it, and you knew we couldn't see it. We could not see it, and we can't hear it talk. We cannot hear it talk. We can only hear it really talk for other people. And I'm glad that didn't happen. Like, I'm glad that didn't happen. I'm glad it's still mysterious. And one thing as well, I've heard some people critique it because the ending is kind of for nothing. You have the character, I forget her name, but she sacrifices herself, and at the end it's in vain. And I don't mind that. I like the idea that even the doctor thinks he's escaped the mid-identity and beating it, and he doesn't know that it's beaten him. And I think that's even better. Like, the mid-identity is something which is just incomprehensible. It's not we don't know, does it have an actual physical self? Does it need to cling on to somebody? There are so many things that we don't know about it, because it in itself is one of the most unknown things. Like, you can't, in the first one, we don't know if it's like physically tangible. We don't know what its limits are. We don't know what its weaknesses are. We just know if there's a way to slow it down and get away from it effectively. And the idea of it not being able to kind of potentially look at itself is like maybe an interesting piece of information, but we don't know that for certain. It's what people have derived from it, you know? And in the end, I've heard people say that maybe there was more than one, or maybe it split itself. And I think that's a really interesting theory, because obviously you see one disappear. There's little, and you see it a bit with, I forget her name, Mo, I think, at the end. It's with her just as this episode ends. And I love episodes ending on like that's a cliffhanger-y kind of note, but it's not going to go anywhere. And I like that. It's like, God, like, we're going to go on to the next adventure, but we're going to wonder what the hell's going to happen to those people, and we won't find out, but that's fine. But when Alice goes away and there's 3 people in that airlock, you see it says 4 personnel in the airlock, and there's only 3. So it's like, well, then more than one escaped. And that's like incredible. But yeah, I don't mind that it's relatively different. I think it's pretty clear that because this was a split co-write between Russell and Sharma, God, I forget her name. I'm going to insert the name here because I haven't done my research in Russian this, but this is her full name here. And I think it's clear that her writing was the original story, and then I think Russell saw the opportunity to link this back to Midnight and made the executive decision of saying this could link back to Midnight. And I think that works. I don't think it needed to be. I wonder how, if it wasn't a Midnight sequel, and it maybe hinted, but I think my mate Tom, he suggested that, like, what if it just had the hints, like the X-tonic star mention and the diamond mention. If it just left those things in there, and the Doctor didn't go, I don't know, ooh, what planet is it called, Midnight. If it just did those things and just hinted at them, that would have been potentially better. But yeah, I think that's why Russell's got the code right, because that is his original story. And maybe he dialed back some things from the monster to keep it more like it. Maybe in the original story we saw the actual monster, but now it's the Midnight Entity. It kind of has to be dialed back. But at the end of the day, what do I think about the episode? I like it, and at the end of the day, people have said like there wasn't that much plot. They just kind of let the story the episode just ends. But isn't that exactly what Midnight does? You don't defeat the Midnight Entity, you get away from it, and that's what the Doctor did. He got out. And I think Ncuti did an incredible job for his performance as well, like showcasing that kind of, when he finds out it's Midnight, he just goes, what? And he's just like, oh God, like immediately that kind of fear, and almost like, I've landed at the worst place I could land. I'm re-meeting the same thing which he had to face before. And the moment where he actually looks at it over Alice's shoulder, I think is amazing. It's one of the, like, I think Ncuti's Doctor cries a bit too much, and I don't mean that in like, oh, you know, men shouldn't cry, blah, blah, blah. I just mean like, it almost loses the impact when it would really hit home. Like sometimes the previous Doctor's crying, it can really be impactful, and sometimes with Ncuti, just those moments are lost because it's almost every episode. But this really, like, he cried just a slight little bit, and it was almost that sheer fear of, like, even though he was like hearing it talk to him, he's still that fear of not knowing anything about it, and it knowing his name, and that terrified him. And the fear of not knowing, the fact that the Doctor doesn't know, even though he's so terrified of the Midnight Entity, he'd rather know more about it. He needs to know more about it. And that is still kicking away at him, because at the end he delays them, he sits back, and he looks at the monster, and maybe that's all that he needed to do for it to get a hold of Belinda towards the end. Or we don't know, and that's maybe one of the issues he has. But I think Shruti's performance is amazing. I think Verada's performance, as ever, I think she's been really good. I'm partially annoyed that the next episode is going to be Dr. Light and Belinda Light, and it's going to be with Ruby Sunday. I actually find it a bit annoying because I'm really enjoying the two of them. I think they have an absolute blast. I'm really enjoying season 2 far more than season 1. Like, I think season 1, sometimes when you look back on season 1 or individual episodes, like let's just look back at Boom. I really like Boom. Let's look back at The Devil's Called. I have some issues with it. If we look back at it as an individual episode, forget the context of the season, maybe it's good. Let's look back at, some people would argue 73 Hours. I wasn't too big on it. But do you know what I mean? It has some individual, quite good standalone things. But when you look at it as a whole, it just doesn't gel in the same way. I should have mentioned Dot and Bubble. I loved Dot and Bubble. But season 2, it's flowing a lot better as a series. I'm really enjoying it. And I hope the fact that we jump to a Dr. Light and jump away from them next episode doesn't stop that. But I'm loving how every episode, begins, like it's constant. You finish the Robot Revolution and boom, you cut away to episode 2 and they're starting in the same costumes. It's flowing like non-stop. And some people have made jokes that, wow, Belinda's not getting any sleep. Well, she got shot at the end of the episode, so she had a good nap for once, but yeah. With this story, I've not talked too much about the actual story itself, but I liked it. I don't know if making it a midnight sequel. I think if it wasn't a midnight sequel, and I had no inkling that it would be before going in, and it definitely wasn't, I would maybe enjoy it slightly more. Maybe. But at the same time, I respect Russell's audacity of doing a midnight sequel, because he must have known going in that if he made an episode of Midnight sequel, that is like such a risk, because that's a big legacy story. That's one of the best things he's ever written, and you can really hurt that. And I don't think he's hurt Midnight. I don't think he's hurt Midnight doing this. Is it best than Midnight? God, no. No, it's not. Midnight is bloody phenomenal. I've seen some people saying this is the best. I hate people saying this is the best or this is the worst since, like, the Dr. Falls or since this or whatever. I don't think we should say that about stories. You need to let stories breathe for a little bit, and then, because like series 10, I liked, and then after a year or two, I was like, actually, I loved series 10, and some of those stories felt better in hindsight. This is not the best episode since whatever. We were saying that about Boom or about other shooty episodes and about 60th episodes, when in reality, if you let them breathe, sometimes episodes get worse or better. I think this was a solid episode. I don't think it's a 10, I don't think it's a 9. I think it's a 7/8, depending, and some people might even think worse. That's just my opinion. I'd give it, I think I'd give it an 8. I really appreciate the tension in the story. I kind of like the dark ending. I'm a sucker for just kind of, despair and, that kind of, not horror like gory, like horror, just kind of mental horror, like just the tension. I really like how Doctor Who can sometimes play with tension, and I really, really like that. And yeah, I really like the story. And I hope next week's okay. I mean, the thing is, it's the only time we're going to see Ruby until the finale. So, and because it's the halfway point, probably, what I was going to say was, I think this will probably do a lot of heavy lifting, of giving us, some substance for the finale. And that will be really good, getting a bit more, and we'll meet her boyfriend, who I think has a big part to play. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm actually really enjoying this series, and I really can't wait to see where it goes. Oh, that's the one thing I forgot to talk about. Where's Earth? No one knows where Earth is. No one knows what Earth is in the future, and that's definitely going to have a part to play in the reality, or maybe Earth's been wiped off the map by Mrs. Flood. And also Mrs. Flood is clearly, meddling. We thought she was just observing the Doctor and kind of being a narrator, but it's clear that she's, controlling where he's going, and almost being like, she's using the Vindicator kind of against him almost, maybe. But I'm excited to see where this series goes. and I do just have the thought in the back of my head, because of the way last series went, I just don't want to be let down. I just don't want to be let down. But maybe we won't be. Maybe we'll enjoy this one. But yeah, I enjoyed this story. What did you think? Comment below your thoughts. Like the video if you enjoyed this one. Subscribe if you are new. And don't forget to ding the bell so you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. I've been Bored Whovian, and I'll see you in the next one.